Namaste everyone. Thank you for joining in this video. So today I would want to speak a bit about Ketu and the dissatisfaction it is supposed to bring. Okay. So the Rahu Ketu axis, it characterizes an individual's life direction, and it also represents profound courage. Okay. And it offers great understandings and standpoints into what we are attempting to attain in this lifetime and what we have failed to perform in the previous life, and what sort of mastery we carry naturally to the table from our past lives. So the Rahu Ketu axis, above everything else, represents authorizations, proportions, as well as understanding. Okay. And while we are constantly obliged by invisible armies to attain what Rahu demonstrates in the chart, we must also not disregard the region of life that is amplified by Ketu, or that is exemplified by Ketu. And as human beings, we must glance to equalize the two opposite fuels without spreading overemphasis to either. Okay, so I always tell this to my students and my clients that the Rahu Ketu axis is the only problem that you need to solve in life. Okay. Now, wherever Ketu is positioned, there is this chance of commonly surrendering to that region of life. Okay, so there is a readiness to stoop to others, not as an experiment to cast, false fund or fulfill favors, but relatively, because there is a true scarcity of satisfaction born from maximum satisfaction. Sorry, from maximum separation. Okay, not satisfaction, separation. So Ketu is the natural separator. He is a ruthless cutter. You look at the image of Ketu, and he has this sword ready to cut you from wherever he sits. Okay. So Ketu is also the giver of moksha, and he is the torso without a skull. Okay. So his headless state says that he is without ego. He is desire free, but the poverty of head also tells that he can be discerned as, thoughtless and needing an understanding, advice, objective, and yearning. And he is unrestricted from expectations. The world of moksha is announced to be a nation where one has zero desires and demands. Okay. And it is said that only such a human mind is capable for attaining the union of the soul with Shiva. Okay. So, Ketu can represent problems, small or big, representing the entire horoscope. Okay. And eventually, all the planets, including Ketu, they assist a higher process, which is to counsel the self on its voyage, to end, on its voyage end to its source. And Ketu does this by bringing forth challenges and tasks that may look a bit harsh on the ground, but are essential for the development of the person. Okay. So Ketu also exemplifies hallucination because it is illusory, just like Rahu. But the extent is that Ketu also removes the hallucination to bring enlightenment. And apart from this, Ketu also exemplifies privacy, divergence, spirituality, and ghostly realms. That is more than Rahu. Mars and Ketu associating means Pishash Yoga, where a person can see extraterrestrial or supernatural things. Okay. So it also represents things similar to an alien planet. It also depicts the next generation, particularly the male, the male baby. It represents hounding, perception, exploration, proficiency, unusual individuality, stuff which we have already accomplished in a life, in a previous life, and not much interested to accomplish in this life. Okay. So about Ketu, one aspect that you have to comprehend is that it does not, it's not very fond of monetary luxuries. It is not fond of, blissful things most of the time. It barely brings you out from all bindings, which could be a barrier in directing towards, in directing yourself towards freedom or actual and absolute awareness. And that's why wherever it sits in the chart, it demolishes all the materialistic aspects of that house and provides hardships. Okay. So as a result of this understanding, you can call Ketu as evil. Okay. People call Ketu as evil. But then, where Rahu is constantly active in immersing you into the materialistic realm. At the same time, Ketu is flushing all ashes, all ashes of materialism, so that you are directed towards spirituality. Okay, so it is something that burns your material desires. Okay, and Ketu will always impact your actions which are egoistic, which come from a place associated with greed. Okay, and as someone who is studying deeper aspects of the chart, if you go into the deeper aspects of the chart, you have to comprehend the variation between Rahu and Ketu manifestation. Okay, so in a sense, both are exemplifying egoistic and greedy accomplishments. Okay, but Rahu is of your existing life and Ketu is of the previous life. Okay, and these two planets will determine how one will undergo, or how one will walk the path in this lifetime due to those greedy and egoistic accomplishments which were prominent in your previous life. Okay, so Rahu is the jungle and Ketu is your castle. That means as human beings, you have to go into that jungle, okay, to accomplish whatever you're meant to accomplish in this lifetime. But the jungle is not a safe place if you look at it, right? So every time you feel unsafe, you have to run back to the safety of the castle, which is represented by Ketu. Okay, so spirituality is entirely under Ketu's impact, and you can collect understanding of all scriptures, but you may not attain the ultimate goal, or you may remain very distant from the absolute understanding of spirituality of moksha. Okay, so Jupiter provides the proficiency of conventional scripture or secret understanding, but what Ketu provides is freedom, spiritual freedom. Okay, it tells you that you are neither the body nor the mind. Okay, and that is the absolute realm of spirituality. It makes you enter that absolute realm. Okay, so if you look at the Ketu chakra, it always moves in reverse. That means from the first house, instead of going into the second house, it moves directly to the 12th house, because it is so concerned with delivering spirituality. Okay, so this is something that is inherent in Ketu. It exemplifies withdrawal, barrier and disregard towards that stuff where Ketu sits in your chart. Okay, so Ketu is, as I said, Ketu represents your past life karma, but it also represents your past life accomplishments. That means things that you have already accomplished or that you have already gotten victory over in a previous life. So what it means is that if Ketu is not well placed, it means that we fail to accomplish those things. Okay, and we will be again reattempting it in this lifetime, so as to get success in those things that were left half done or left undone previously. Okay, so as Ketu exemplifies stuff already accomplished in a past life, we feel private, we feel disinterested, and eventually get segregated from all those stuff in this life. And because of the easy justification that God does not expect us to waste time on some stuff which we have triumphed ahead in a previous life, Ketu ruthlessly tries, to cut off from all our desires, or, from all the significations of the house where he sits. Okay, Ketu desires us to accomplish those stuff which we have not yet attempted, so that we can come to be true like him and attain moksha. Okay, now Ketu is a planet that can bestow us the vastly significant accomplishment, that is moksha. Okay, and Ketu situation in the chart exhibits if an individual will accomplish moksha after this life or not. And Ketu also exemplifies the mysterious, the occult, and the invisible world. So if an individual will be moving towards stuff like astrology or numerology or tantra or mantra or any other kind of occult proficiency, is all dependent on Ketu. Okay, so Ketu also exemplifies clarity. So wherever it sits in the chart, a person needs to give rise to transparency related to stuff of that house. Okay, for example, Ketu in the 8th house gives rise to someone who is an enormous researchaholic about the occult stuff, as he not only himself needs to realize all the occult stuff that is available, but also needs people to realize the validity of the occult realm. Okay, so Ketu also evolves the contradiction of thyself, metaphysical strength. Okay, so in the understanding of spirituality and virtue, Ketu is a good planet. But if you expect to glimpse its materialistic consequences, obviously you will find it to be a very, very difficult planet to overcome. Okay. So in conclusion, Rahu and Ketu are both conditional planets, indicating that they provide an outcome established, on the basis of the, the planet it sits with or the house where it sits in. Okay. So if a planet that is sitting with Rahu or Ketu, let's say if a planet that is sitting with Ketu, obtains any malefic nature due to placement or due to association, so Ketu will give you some terrible outcomes during its dasha, like mental diseases, immediate bad modifications in life, detected or undetected illnesses. Okay. And if Ketu is really afflicted, the person can suffer from, wrong therapy or going to the wrong doctors, uncertainty, sudden surprising barriers in life, and so on. Okay. So for Ketu, it is constantly disliking any kind of association. Okay. It could be love, it could be your spouse, or it could be anything. Okay. So if any of these things are under the effect of Ketu, there will be some hidden difficulties that you cannot glimpse normally. Okay. Say, for example, Ketu is at Mars. So it will bring dissatisfaction in terms of the significations of Mars, like, property, like land issues, like, health, and so on. Okay. And if Ketu is placed in a malefic house, the consequences would be even more severe. Okay. Again, a well-positioned Ketu will exemplify a great reasonable mind that would be vastly spontaneous too. Okay. So, as I said, the nodes, they assume the characteristics of the planets they associate with, the characteristics of the house they associate with. So it's much better that you have Ketu in a fire sign. That is the best placement for Ketu to be in. Okay. In Aries or in Leo or in, or in Sagittarius. If you have Ketu in fire sign, it is really, really good. Okay. So the adulthood age of Ketu is 42 years. Okay. Some astrologers consider it to be 47. And, Ketu has three aspects, of course. It looks at the 5th house from itself, the 7th house from itself, and the 9th house from itself. Of course, I'll be dealing with the aspects of Ketu in another video. Okay. So as I said, Rahu and Ketu are a big distinction. And, Rahu is the external planet, while Ketu is a very internal planet. Okay. Rahu will flare up stuff, whereas Ketu will implode stuff. Okay. For example, Rahu in Gemini can give rise to an individual socialite, but Ketu in Gemini will bring about an individual conversation, an individual speak a lot to himself and work internally on whatever information is available. Okay. So look at the position of Ketu in your chart, and I have done a lot of videos, on the other aspects of Ketu, like the karma of Ketu in all the 12 houses, the best position for Ketu to be in. So you can watch out those videos on my channel, which are available for public consumption. Okay, so that's it from me in this video. And if you want a consultation regarding your chart, you are most welcome to reach out at the given number. And please share the content if you like it. Please share it if you find it useful. Please share it with your friends and family. And please subscribe to the channel and let me know your feedback in the comment section. Okay, so that's it from me in this video. I'll see you soon in yet another video. Namaste. Om Gurave Namaha.